so confident they'll make the playoffs that if they don't, I'll wear a Giants or a Dodgers jersey on one of our podcasts.
You don't need the pressure of always trying to perform here at the major league level, so that might be a good thing.
You talked about the athleticism of this Padres team last time out, and he just embodies it.
Hello, everybody. It's another week of sports here in America's finest city. It is the BCSC podcast. Andy Bishop, Brian Vilvin, and Thomas Conroy. It is all things sports, my friends. The NFL has started. The NBA finals are nearing us, and of course, there'll be baseball coming down the stretch here in September. My friends, how was your weekend? I guess I'll start with that. I know on Sunday it was a Padres doubleheader, as well as the first week of Sunday football. How was it for you, Brian?
That was a good day, especially because the Pods took 2 games. That Sunday could have gone a lot worse, and my fantasy team did not perform. So what could have been a bad Sunday was definitely picked up by the Pods playing 2 games. After not playing Friday and Saturday, we were really itching for some Padre baseball, and to win both of those games, all right, good Sunday for me. How was it for you, Thomas?
Yeah, it was so weird watching football without the crowds. I really paid a lot of attention to the games. I really wanted to see Tom Brady versus Drew Brees, that first matchup, especially for the NFC South. And I came away a little shocked by the way the Saints played. So it was a good weekend. And then obviously, you know, the for baseball wise, it was just so shocking. I was getting ready to watch the game Friday night, and then 10 minutes before first pitch, it was called off, and you really didn't know what went on. And I was so thankful that it wasn't a major outbreak. So all good considering it. But it was a fun weekend because it really got all the major sports back in action.
Yeah, so the Padres played that doubleheader. It was, of course, a 3-game series that it was to be played against the Giants. So they, if I'm not mistaken, still have a game to make up against the Giants at some point later on, as we're literally like 2 weeks away from this season ending at the end of September. So let's kind of dive in with our Padres here, as they have been smoking hot coming into their series this week against the Dodgers, one that we were really looking forward to. In the previous 2 series, a 4-game series, they split it. And then the previous series this year with the Dodgers, LA took 2 of 3. So that was an even newer look Padres coming into this series against the Dodgers. They smashed the first game, a chance to maybe tie it or even win it in the 9th inning last night. And then they're in the middle of a game right now, losing to the Dodgers. Brian, what have you made of this series so far?
Just like the other couple of series against the Dodgers, they get our hopes up right at the beginning. And I remember last time in that 4-game set, after we won the first 2 games, we recorded a podcast, and we were all 3 like, oh yeah, we're going to win this series. And so they get our hopes really high. And in game 1, the whole Trent Grisham thing, I thought that was awesome. I was so fired up coming in, and then we won that game, having won 8 in a row. And the division title was within our grasp. Now we drop game 2. It looks like game 3 is likely going to go the Dodgers' way. So it kind of takes the division crown out of play. And that's really the only thing that there is to play for right now. So I'm bummed because of that. Like, it would have been awesome to unseat the Dodgers in their reign of 7 straight division titles this year, looking like it'll probably be 8. But overall, like, it doesn't take away from what there still is to play for this season. And we're going to be a postseason team. We're going to be above 500. At the beginning of the year, those are the things we wanted. So my takeaway is I'm disappointed that we couldn't play for the division title, but there's still so much left to play for the Pods. And, yeah, a little bit of disappointment, excitement looking forward.
Yeah, after what you've seen in this series, Thomas, is there still any doubts in any areas for you? I mean, we're hoping – that we see the Dodgers potentially in that second round of the playoffs. Anything scare you at all at this point?
Yeah, I'm going to echo a point that Brian's made on Twitter throughout the series is they got to do a better job, the Padres hitters, of hitting with runners in scoring position. especially in these two losses, they had ample opportunity to either take a lead or get back into the game, and they just can't get that big out. And I think what you're seeing in this Dodgers series is the Dodgers are very well schooled on how to play playoff baseball and how to pitch, and they didn't get rattled by losing that first game decisively. They came back and their pitching staff really shut down the Padres' bats, and I think that's what, if you can learn anything out of this final series, is as a team, is that's how you're going to have to approach a series, especially playoff time, of just just take each at bat. Do not don't let your struggles at the plate go onto the field, and vice versa. And right now, as Brian said, the division is not there. But for me, I think Jace Tingler and Larry Rothschild have to set up their rotation now to get ready for the playoffs. Because, guys, I don't know if you saw this, there are no days off, but between the first and the divisional series, and I think even the NLCS, there are no days off until you get to the World Series. So you're going to have your pitching in order, and I think, for the Padres' sake, they're going to have to decide which starter can work out of the bullpen and be effective. Because today it just didn't look like Garrett Richards is that type of a pitcher, because he was, that first batter he was way high to him and fell behind in the count, and then grooved the fastball in there and got smoked out of the stadium. So to me, there's still some work left, and then obviously, to me, the back end of the bullpen is pretty well set right now. Trevor Rosenthal has been just phenomenal in all phases, with the fans, interacting with the fans, and as his role as a closer. But right now, it's just timely hitting and getting your rotation in order for me now for the final week and a half of the season.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that, in particular about the starting rotation, Thomas. I remember you a couple weeks ago, Brian, mentioning how you wanted Jace Tingler to put Mike Clevenger in a certain spot against a certain team so that we would see him against the Dodgers this week, which we didn't get to see, unfortunately. It was good to see Clevenger, though, throw a complete game against the Giants, albeit a 7-inning complete game. But to really see his stuff come alive, that was very promising. So really can't wait to see what he does in the postseason for us.
Andy, one thing I want to ask you, you mentioned this is a new look Padres going against the Dodgers. How do you think our team compares to the Dodgers, like roster to roster, lineup to lineup, rotation to rotation, bullpen to bullpen, like in all aspects? We've closed the gap quite a bit. Are we there yet, or are we still a little ways away?
I think we're just about there, if not there. I mean, after all the trades that went down at the deadline, I mean, you really solidified a frontline starter with pitching, that bullpen depth. I still think I'm not convinced that part of the pitching staff will perform in the postseason, just because we haven't really seen a lot of these guys in this setting with this collective group. But I mean, the offense is there. We've seen it all season long. Even when Hosmer's been out, he's probably been out like half the season now. Yep. At this point, and we've still seen them produce. Tatis is in a little bit of a slump right now, and the offense has still been putting up runs. So, man, I think we're there. Maybe just the postseason is the other factor, since the Dodgers have been there the last handful of years and we haven't. But again, we brought a guy here like Moreland, who's had plenty of playoff experience. So I don't know. I think we're pretty much right there, but it's going to be interesting when we meet him in the playoffs. Thomas, do you have anything else to echo on that?
No, I wanted to ask you guys a question on Tatis Jr. What do you think? Is he just hitting into outs, or do you see some deficiency with him at the plate that we haven't seen, when he was at his hottest point of the season? What do you think is going on right now with him at the plate?
I'm not sure. He keeps grounding out to shortstop. So, I don't know what's going on, if he's rolling over the ball a lot, or if he's just uncomfortable at the plate. Guys are clearly pitching him hard in. He likes to lean out over the plate and generate a lot of power to the opposite field. And then they're throwing sliders away from him. So I don't know exactly what the mix is that's making him uncomfortable up there. He also may just be a little bit tired, a little bit in a slump, a little bit in his own head. Maybe the home run numbers have kind of gotten there. He's still the elite talent that we have grown to see. And the fact that, he's gone a few games with only one hit in the last 4 games, like, I think at some point he snaps out of it, and I'm not concerned about Tatis right now. It's frustrating, and I know he's more frustrated than anybody, but he'll get out of it. Glad to see it's happening right now and not 8 days from now when the playoffs start. So it's plenty of time to turn it around.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brian. It's probably a small combination of things, probably a little confidence. I think maybe, after a half season of work as well, the teams have a little bit more data on him, so they know where to pitch him in certain circumstances. I mean, today he mashed the ball like pretty much right up the middle, but of course that's where the second baseman was playing. They're going to position their defenders as well to go against his numbers. So I don't know. I think we'll see him pick it up, and hopefully he gets hot at the right time heading into the playoffs. Anything else Padres wise that you guys have been keeping your eye on the last week or so?
I'm just excited that we've locked up finishing above 500. I know when we started the bubble, we made our predictions, and we were all kind of in like the 32 to 34 range, I think, maybe like 35 on the really high end. It looks like if we get to 35 wins, it'll be, we'll have to lose a lot of games down the stretch because we're already at 32. So with 10 games to go or whatever. So totally blown away. I love what the Pods are doing. Super excited. It's easy to lose sight of what all they've accomplished so far. As far the best start through 50 games in franchise history, because we're disappointed about these Dodger performances, but stoked on the Pods.
Yeah, it's so weird. Somebody asked me where I live, when was the last time the Padres were this far above 500, and I couldn't remember. So I was like, you got to look it up. I'm sorry, I can't help you. But it's pretty fun. I mean, it's sort of like what we've said all along throughout the podcast, guys, of like, this team is special, and this team is really, you go out of your way to find them on your TV channel if you don't know where it's located. And what's even cooler is people that don't normally talk sports with you are now having conversations with you about the game. So it's all good. And, I'm just looking forward to the playoffs because it's going to be so unique and so weird with designated sites. And, I really don't know what to expect out of this playoff run.
Yeah, Thomas, you mentioned, they'll be playing it, obviously not their home site. So where the Padres will likely align in the National League, they'll be playing in Arlington where the Rangers play. I think it would be for the entire playoffs, however long they're there. Some of the other NL playing in Houston, and then the AL playing, some of the teams playing here in San Diego. So definitely interesting to see. The Arlington treated us pretty well when we played there earlier this year. It was probably about a week ago or so now. I saw a pretty funny stat, well, for our sake, and it was the Rangers, after that 3-0 pitch that Fernando Tatis swung on and hit the grand slam, they had gone 3-17 following that. So I felt slightly bad for the Rangers, but not really. So anyway, Arlington treats us well. Well, let's move it on over to the NFL. Really always exciting for that season to start. I know for us, there was plenty of other things going on this summer that it was hard to realize that the NFL season had gotten here. What was maybe one of your biggest takeaways from week one, Brian?
Biggest takeaway. I think the play was quite a bit sharper than I was expecting. We didn't see any preseason. I didn't know how that would affect teams. I don't know how much the preseason really matters for the frontline starters. I know for the coaching staffs and stuff, like roster construction and who's going to be the 45th through 53rd guys and the practice squad guys, it's really important for them. But it didn't look like starters really missed much of a beat, and so many new faces and new places. So I was mostly pleased with the level of play. And then, the emergence of a talent like a Kyler Murray, he really stood out to me. He's a guy who everybody had big expectations for coming into his second year, and going up against the, reigning NFC West champ and, what was last year the Super Bowl representative in the NFC. And he went in there and really dominated. He was exciting to watch. So I think the emergence of a new star in Kyler Murray, and just how good the level of football was. Considering like a week ago, I wasn't thinking about football whatsoever. The fantasy draft snuck up on us. Just the season in general snuck up. So, yeah.
How about it for you, Thomas?
I like that. Even without preseason football, the Browns could still be as inept as ever. I mean, I watched a little bit of that game on in between on the NFL Sunday Ticket, and they are still horrible. And you could put Vince Lombardi, get a reincarnation of Vince Lombardi, and I still think that team would struggle though to win games. It is just a constant mess, and the more and more I see it, it just seems to me that Baker Mayfield is just not a starting quarterback. He just seems really lost out there, and he speeds up his throws, and he just doesn't, you would think after his, this being the start of his third season, he would be more comfortable in that position, but he seems to be still making the same rookie mistakes that he made in that very first season. So they're a mess, but I agree with Brian. I thought the play was really good. The only thing that concerned me was it looked like the defenses kind of ran out of gas about the third quarter, and allowed the offenses to catch up, and games that were maybe a 7 to 10 point cushion got close towards the end. So that will kind of take care of itself over time. But other than that, it was surprising. The NFL kept rolling on like no pandemic in sight.
Yeah, exactly. For me, pretty much a couple of strong performances by favorites in both conferences. The Chiefs, of course, on the Thursday night game against the Texans, and then the Saints in that NFC South division as they take on Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Pretty convincing win there. Back to the AFC, I think, the favorites, like I said, it's got to be Kansas City and then Baltimore after that win against the Browns, even though they're not that great. And then one more thing, good seeing Ben Roethlisberger back this season after being out pretty much the entire year last year. To still see him playing strong, as well as one of our favorites, Phillip Rivers, on that new team over there in Indy. So good to see that. And one more point, I hate saying it, the Chargers uniforms look so good against the Cincinnati Bengals, the yellow pants and the white jerseys. It literally brought back flashes of highlights that I've seen of the Chargers Bengals, like 1981-82 AFC Championship game when the temperature was like 40 below zero with wind chill. So going back to some of those old jerseys and what they're going to unveil this year, it hurts my heart.
I know they did look good. Those yellow pants are rock solid. And another AFC West team that actually looked pretty darn good was the Raiders, going on the road, putting up a ton of points and a big win. I mean, it's just so hard to take them seriously because they're the Raiders, but I don't know, man. I was very impressed. I just can't remember a Raiders team going in and winning a shootout. You think of the Raiders as like a drag them out, win a 13-10 battle, but I was very impressed with the silver and black. For their Vegas debut, although it wasn't in Vegas, but yeah, it's a new face in the AFC.
And it was so bizarre seeing guys that have been with one team for 10 or more years in a new uniform. Like you mentioned, Brian, in that Raiders game, seeing Jason Witten in a Raiders uniform looked really out of place. And then obviously Brady in Tampa with Gronk too. I mean, it was so weird that seeing those two in a different uniform and a different style. And I know Twitter world loved watching Brady struggle after so many years of dominance. But I think that's where the part was where it kind of hurt him, I should say, was not having preseason the kind of work time and with his receiver core.
Yeah, I'll just end on one point that Brian made earlier about Kyler Murray. That was a very impressive win by the Cardinals, going into San Francisco. I think that NFC West division is probably the best in football at this point. Very, likely could see three teams. I mean, I know it's early, but you go up and down that division, and I could see any team there making the playoffs at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see. Always fun for football to be back.
Andy, one question on that with the added playoff teams. Do you think maybe 4 could come out of that division?
It could, but I think there's probably, I would think one would get there out of the NFC South. The East is always I feel like the East is going to win at 9-7, whoever it's going to be.
8-8.
Yeah, there you go. And I don't know. I could only see one coming out of the North, maybe only the Vikings or the Packers. I will say it was like back to watching Aaron Rodgers like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
the guy looks slick. Devontae Adams is an absolute beast. I mean, I would be in my nightmares trying to cover that guy. So I don't know, that NFC is strong, but I could very easily see 3 coming out of the West.
Yeah, the best play I saw all weekend was Aaron Rodgers rolling to his right and throwing a dart to Devontae Adams about 25 yards down the field. The ball didn't get off the ground by more than like 3 feet. Looked like a 95-mile-an-hour fastball for a first down. That was Green Bay. I forgot. Rodgers looked good.
One more question I'll ask. Was there anybody that you are happy that you drafted in fantasy this year? Thomas?
Yeah, Russell Wilson for me. He got me so many points. I was projected to lose my game, and I won I had the widest margin in my league, so I'm very happy with that.
My best under the radar pick was Robbie Anderson, because I thought going to Carolina he was going to be a beast. I didn't start him, and he scored 27 points, and I lost. So I was kind of killing myself over that one, but I have him for the long term. I think under Coach Rule, he's going to be a really solid option in Carolina. So that got me excited. I mean, I have Patrick Mahomes, so of course he's the easy answer, but I had to go a little off the rails there.
Yeah, I'll go to my first round pick in my PPR league, which normally my first 3 rounds are terrible. So I'm happy this one paid off. But DeAndre Hopkins, got him with the last pick in the first round, a 12-team league, with the hope that Kyler Murray would have a very nice sophomore year. And, DeAndre had 15 receptions for 150 yards, very similar numbers that Devontae Adams had. So good payoff there in week 1. Well, let's wrap it up here and talk about the other big sport, the NBA, as the Denver Nuggets escaped 2 series down 3-1 to now face the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. Guys, is there any chance that Denver can stay with the Lakers after the Lakers have been off for the last several days?
I don't think so. I think the best chance for someone to knock off the Lakers would have been the Clippers. I just don't see Denver, especially having played back-to-back 7-game series. So they've played 4 extra games than the Lakers over the last couple of weeks, and that's just got to catch up to you. Already, the Lakers are the more talented team. So I just don't see a scenario where they could win. I could see them winning 1 game because they're on this high, riding the high, kind of like how Portland and Houston did, seeing that scenario play out. But if they don't win game 1, I think it's going to be a 4-game sweep for the Lakers, and then we'll see who they face in the finals. But yeah, I think the Lakers got this.
Your thoughts, Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, this looks like the Lakers have a very easy road now to the NBA championship. I mean, I was skeptical of when they finished the regular season portion in the bubble, how they played towards the end. But man, when that playoff light turned on, man, they were by far the best team as far as team defense, team scoring, and just all around play. And it's just it's amazing when you read stories about athletes and being tired in games and need rest and all this other nonsense. And then you see a guy like LeBron James, who I think will be, he's either 37 or 38 years old right now. just or 36, 37, just going out and playing his ass off every night and not asking for any breaks. It just makes me shake my head the way these guys, you don't see that too often. And just the way he is the dominant player in practically in every game he plays. I mean, and it isn't just scoring, it's passing, it's rebounding. He'll do whatever you need to do. He's just a freak of nature, and it's so refreshing to watch that. And, I know it's probably going to come to an end in a year or two, but boy, he is just a special player, and I really appreciate his talent.
Yeah, really, really just a complete team. Great story in Denver for them to, escape those two series, especially when with the latter one, it was just kind of everybody thought the Clippers were going to be the shoe-in to play the Lakers for the Battle of LA. So for me, kind of a cool storyline seeing them disrupt that and at least get there. Let's go to the other conference. The East for us is kind of a little bit of an afterthought, but pretty incredible seasons for the Celtics and the Heat. Any chance that these teams can compete with the Lakers, assuming that they would make it to the finals, Brian?
I think the Heat have been the most improved team in the bubble, and they just look like a totally different beast. They got a good mix of veteran talent, a really good coach in Eric Spoelstra, who doesn't get enough love. Thomas was giving him some love, so I appreciate that. But, I think they're the type of team that could go in and scare you. Boston's got a lot of really solid talent. Both teams are pretty good for the East, but they'd be pressing for 6, 7, 8 seed in the West, I think. So I'm not seeing either of them come in and win. It's cool stories, and I really like what the Heat have done. I'd love to see it be the Heat, but Lakers Celtics, great rivalry piece, that would be cool too. But I just don't see it.
Yeah, I'm selfish. I would love to see the Celtics get in and then get swept so I could throw it in Boston fans' faces. But we'll see what happens. I agree with Brian. I mean, what really comes down in the East is really two great coaches and kind of going at each other. You saw it last night in a pretty good game last night for a game one. So I expect more of that. And what the good thing about it is you have two coaches that are telling their teams that to go out and play hard and just let the chips fall where they may. And who knows? I mean, we'll see what happens. But it's pretty competitive, and those teams have shined the obviously the brightest in the East, and they played the best basketball in the bubble, Eastern Conference wise.
All right, guys, great insight on the NBA. Before we finish, I got to get your prediction for the winner of the United States Golf Open Championship out at Winged Foot, the place where Phil Mickelson never quite got his U.S. Open Championship. Guys, I'm going Tony Finau. What about you, Brian?
I got to go Phil. It's the most homer pick ever, but I just have to do it. I love Phil so much. I don't think he's going to win, but I want him to win. 50 years old, gets that U.S. Open, erases the demons of Winged Foot. I'm here for Lefty.
Thomas?
Let's see. I'm going to go Dustin Johnson because he was the Snake Player of the Year.
Yeah, he's been pretty dominant the last few weeks.
Yep.
All right, guys, another good one. We'll do it again soon. Thanks for joining us here on the BCSC podcast.